Hey guys, it's Mike here. Not feeling all that great. Insomnia's kicked in. Depression, anxiety, you name it. But I'm not doing a video about those sort of things. I'm doing a video about the EU referendum. It's actually been suggested by one of my commenters, Flash, aka Flashman. Check him out on Twitter. Um, in regards to whether or not I will be voting in or out for the EU referendum. Now, for those who are voting, I will say this. You need to look in your heart of hearts, do the assessments, look at the questions, check out the video from John Oliver that kind of simplifies all of this, and say to yourself, what does the EU do for me? Now, regardless of the fact that 0.5% of our national budget goes into backing the EU, regardless of the fact that there is all this bullshit about immigration, because this is kind of it's the political answer of let's pass the buck. So that's what immigration is. If you think that they're going to close the borders and that money's going to be used for the NHS, if you think that you can trust the Conservative Party, who have basically dumped us further into a recession than we already have been, who have promised to give affordable housing, who have promised to provide us with an NHS that wasn't going to be sold off, but are planning to sell it off, that are planning to sell land of ours off for fracking purposes, who are planning to turn the UK into kind of a United States market economy, then that's totally up to you. Myself, I'll be voting in, and here's the reason why. As the saying goes, you either damned with the devil that you do know, rather than handle the devil that you don't. I wouldn't really trust the Conservative Party with my own urine, let alone trust them to actually make a big decision, such as something in regards to a Human Rights Act charter. I believe if we disconnect ourselves from the EU, we'll cut off possible trade deals within the EU, but we would have to make certain sacrifices to get those similar type deals via our own government, which means they would end up opening up the borders because they wouldn't be able to close them, because in order for some countries to get what they want, they're going to offload problems. They will be spending a hell of a lot more than the 175 million a week that they spend on the EU, because of every £2 they spend, they get £1 back. And they estimated 390 million. Actually, it's more closer to the ballpark of 195. I estimate 175. And that's the thing for me. I don't trust guys like David Cameron, as far as I could throw him. We're currently in a state at the moment where they control everything that we do. We're in a nanny state. They fail to address issues in terms of our families, in terms of our children. They haven't done nothing to quell the fears that we have, and they've instead pushed the blame on the jobless. They've put the blame on the homelessness. They've pushed the blame on those who come over here to expect a better life. And no matter what happens, the Conservative Party themselves, in my opinion, and you can accept if I have an intelligent opinion or not, regardless, are a bunch of morons and Eton boys who basically are guilty of the same things that they claim everybody else is. Expenses scandals that they've now covered up to the fact that the news are not allowed to report it anymore. There's an embargo on these things that they pass through secretly. The fact that they're in a huge scandal currently where the party was fiddling expenses in order to basically win an election. I don't trust these people to handle this country if we leave the EU. Damn sight, I don't trust them. They have screwed this country up. The only way that we can make things work better is if we actually talk within those within the EU and not talk like Nigel Farage does. And I have no idea why this guy even collects a paycheck. He should not be in a political position because he's an extreme racist who doesn't seem to want to do a job that he's been put in place to do. The fact of the matter is, financially, we will be worse off. Politically, we'll be worse off. More rights will be taken away. The Human Rights Act currently has little to no effect. I agree with most people that, oh, the Human Rights Act, what's that going to do? But in order for us to make that change, we've got to vote enough is enough. If we vote Remain, that could be part of that change. Then we need to basically deal with the cancer that this country has been dealing with, and that is the Conservative Party. If you don't believe me, check out the freaking Ian Duncan Smith, Mr. I Left on My High Horse, is responsible for over 2,000 deaths this year alone, basically due to the job centre deciding that people are fit to work when they're not. You have Jeremy Hunt, who is a freaking idiot, who's attempting to scale back the NHS, and they say we're cutting expenses and we're trying to make it more affordable, yet they spend billions on a Thatcher museum or billions on freaking selling off land that they don't own. They've sold back shares to banks which they could have used to offset tax. If you think they are the smarter option, think about what you will be losing. We will no longer be able to migrate through the EU freely. You'd have to basically apply for visas just like any other country, and you won't be allowed to stay. So if you want to go to an EU country and stay without any hassle in regards to immigration issues, you won't be able to do that. When it comes to closing off our borders, we won't be able to do that either. Because in order for us to get what we want, we've got to basically make those sacrifices. And to me, if people stopped fighting these wars overseas, people would stop flooding their countries, in order to try and get a better life here. A better life that now we have our own people sending people back because they don't earn 35 grand a year. And these are teachers, nurses, skilled workers who should be here and have the right to remain here, but have been sent back to their own countries because, our governments made that decision. And yeah, I know we're going to have the whole Islam and ISIS debate. There was a march in London recently where the Muslim community went and basically talked about the anti-ISIS demonstration. They focused their energies on positivity and showing that these people aren't a part of our community. Just like the IRA wasn't part of Ireland, Just like when we had the Crusades, that wasn't part of Christianity. There were people using religion as their way to lash out. If you're smart, if you're a good person, if you're an intelligent person, I would expect you to look at the facts. Look at all the facts. Stop looking at the propaganda, because the guys who vote in, the guys who are talking out, none of these people actually understand what the fuck they're going on about. Excuse my language. So you need to look at that and decide in your own words what you want to do and how you want to do it, because in the end, this isn't about you. This isn't about me. This is about the future of the people who come after us, our children and their children's children. What you do today affects them. And as far as I'm concerned, as a father of 4, I want to make sure that my children have the best life possible. I'm sick and tired of looking in the news where we see someone shooting Rebecca Cox because she just wanted to talk about her stance of why she voted in, or having MPs threatened and their lives threatened because people are taking this way too seriously. enough is enough. Use this instead of this. I understand people are passionate about their country, but in the end, none of us own this country. This is a country that eventually, when I'm gone, others will come and they'll make it their home. It's a place to settle for now, before you move on. Don't make it the worst place to live by letting hatred decide for you. Because fear and hatred are very, very bad things. Because once you're afraid and you use that to hate someone else, you're just going to end up wrecking things up for everybody. And you don't want to do that. So there you go. That's my stance. Again, check out John Oliver's video on this. The dude speaks volumes about why we as a country are failing and why we as a people need to pick up the slack by voting in. Because despite how we feel about the EU, and it's not run perfectly, but no political party is. No country is being run perfectly by the perfect government, because these politicians are squabbling amongst themselves and pointing the finger instead of doing their jobs. And the only way we can successfully deal with this is if we start saying enough is enough. Don't let fear and anger ruin your life for the rest of your life, because it's what it's going to do for you and future generations. Anyway, have a great day. I'm going to try and sleep at some point. Love you all, guys.